coming off of Midnights and the Midnight 3 a.m. edition that we had recently too, um, took us kind of by surprise. And we did a review of that when it came out in 2022, of Taylor Swift, going a little darker, a little bit more experimental. Like Kyle said it best. I'm going to quote him for this one. It's like she took Folklore and Evermore and made more of a pop sounding album with that type of sound and material. This one, the Tortured Poets Department, and I'm going to be screamed at by so many people who hear this. She's kind of fallen into a trap, in my opinion, of just the way that the little subtle things that I noticed listening to this record, the way the instrumentation is on the record, the way that she's not, I mean, she did a little bit on Midnights, but Folklore Evermore on Midnights, but she kind of like really went double down on like cursing. I mean, I'm all for like free speech and stuff like that, but it's just coming from her. It's like, I was like, oh, she's going in this direction. Okay. I can kind of accept that. I was surprised by how some of the features on this record, such as like the Florence and the Machine feature or the Post Malone feature, both worked to those songs. I'll get to those in a second, but they were just like, this is just a very questionable album for me personally. As someone who actually enjoyed the hit singles off of Midnight's, like Antihero, I later went back. I later went back to Antihero a lot more than I thought I did, to the point where to the point where it was one of my most streamed songs of 2023. I found out, thanks Spotify. I couldn't believe that. So after I listened to this album, the Tortured Poets Department, I re-listened to a bunch of her other hit songs just the other day too. Just to kind of like see where she's kind of where she's evolved from so far over her career with the past like probably 10 years or so. I started with like Style, Shake It Off, Blank Space. And then I went to, then she went to the Bad Reputation album with like, Look What You Made Me Do. And then you went to, Cruel Summer in 2019, or later charted at #1 in 2023. But with Folklore and Evermore, it was kind of a shock to the world that she went that direction. And then Midnight's was more pop sounding. This one, guys, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I was falling asleep a little bit. I hate to be that guy. This is coming from a guy who loves Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift. I'm of the opinion that she's a fantastic artist and who's in it for the long haul. And I mark my words, I said to Kyle and I said to Mike, when Midnight's first came out, I said to them, hopefully she can release her next album as more of a pop sounding album. Not to the same extent, not a copy repeat of 1989 or Red, but just a little bit more of like a fun sounding record. There was little to no quote unquote fun for me, at least on this record. Mind you, this is a double album. I'm not going to get too far into the track listing and whatnot too, but it was just so much like just nonstop. Like there was so much like excess stuff on here that I just didn't need to like hear. Like I heard so much instrumentation that just was so questionable. I have the track listing right in front of me. We're not going track by track because it's such a long record for the double album. But like stuff like, the features of Fortnite, the features of Post Malone and Florence and the Machine, they worked out, for that. Like they worked for what they were. But when I first saw like a lot of the titling, like on Spotify, it has like specific titling, like the Tortured Poets Department is in like all capital letters, and then there's a couple. Florida has exclamation points. I kind of got or I'm gonna get you back is all one word, like things like that. I got to the point where I was like, oh, yeah, so maybe you should just tour for a little while. Maybe you should just tour for a little while. And I love you. You're an incredible artist. You're one of my favorites too, of the modern like 21st century pop artists or just artists in general. You're one of my favorites. But maybe it's time to not write as much. And I do not recommend working with this guy, Aaron Dessner, ever again. I don't know what it was, but with all the instrumentation on this album, I was just surprised about how like it was just not. It just didn't sound like traditional Swift that I came to know. It sounded like almost like a copy repeat of Midnight's and Folklore and Evermore to a lesser extent, if you will, of not as much instrumentation. Like when there is instrumentation, it's very good, and then I was like, oh, where's that? But overall, I mean, I was just kind of like bored. I know like some people listening to us and some people actually enjoy us like our content stuff like that. But I'm sorry, this was just like I was bored out of my mind listening to this. And this is coming from a guy who loves style, who loves songs like 22. We are never ever getting back together. You know, even some stuff off Folklore Nevermore. I mean, I know I like them for what they were. I know you'll hear Kyle has said this before. He wasn't a fan of them for what they were because of the folk elements, but. And I don't want to echo his opinion too much because I know that he's got his own opinions. He's going to say what he has to say too. But this one was just so much questionable, like not too much instrumentation. And again, the Swift world has reacted in all 10 spots currently this week of April 30th, 2024 on the Billboard Hot 100 are all Taylor Swift songs from this record.
Not just that, JT. Every song from this album was on the Billboard Top 100 plus Cruel Summer. So she held 32 of the Hot 100 spots.
I did not know that. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that, buddy.
That's nuts.
That's the world has gone mad. The world loves Taylor Swift that much, and we do too.
Sure do.
But
Mike.
some of us do. I know Mike loves her, a little bit. But no, I just to conclude my thoughts because we're not going through track by track because it's like there's a lot of songs here that we could go spend the next 2 hours talking about. We're not going to do that. But just know that like my thoughts on the Tortured Poets Department, I was when you see the promotional images, I was expecting like kind of like a darker pop, a darker sounding record. But we got what we got, and the instrumentation is just not there for me. It's kind of like it's just very minimalistic. It almost I hate to compare this to it, but it almost reminded me of that Quebec Scrapyard album we just reviewed. Like there was just little to no instrumentation on it, and people were like, "It's the greatest thing in the world." Like I don't know. I mean, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I mean, I'm curious to see what Mike has to say because he's up next in a second. But I mean, right now for the Tortured Poets department of Taylor Swift, I'm sitting at about a 4.5 out of 10 on this one. I might be the villain tonight. I'm not kidding you. And this is coming from a guy who loves her pop music, who loves like her. When she did Reputation, it was a unique take. Or the stuff off Lover is great too. I had a conversation with my boss about this because I work for a top 40 radio station. He's like, yeah, I'm just not a fan of it. And he literally will say to me, I want to marry Taylor Swift. Straight up. He'll tell me that straight up. Never gonna happen, but but sorry, Jimmy. But yeah, like it's just bottom line, t- it was something I never thought I would hear in the wrong way. If you like, it was like, and maybe I need more listens to it. Maybe I need more time with it over like a year or 2 years. I don't because Anti-Hero grew on me quite a bit, but that took a year or so. So maybe this needs to take a year for me personally. I don't know, but I respect the hell out of her for putting out a record like this. But I just think that this just goes to show you that even the hardcore fans or even like I shouldn't say hardcore fans, but the casual fans like me, or maybe not Kyle, for example, it was just people who are like, oh, I'm not that into her. They're gonna hear this like, why is we all raving about this? So bottom line, 4.5 out of 10 for me for the Tortured Poets department. And we're gonna get ripped apart at some point in our lives. If some people hear this, like, how could you say such a thing? Like, look, all art, all music all film is subjective. We've talked about this before in this podcast before, but it's just the truth. I'm a huge I would call myself a Swiftie to some extent. I mean, her pop songs are fantastic, but this one just was just not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be like a darker, like almost like a jazz album for her. Like, but you see the aesthetic come out of like the promotional images and the album cover and stuff like that of her like on the bed, whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm expecting it to be like, oh, it's gonna be like a jazzy or a darker, like sounding like almost like a sinister sounding record. And it was just like nothingness. I hate to say that word and talk about Taylor Swift, but it's just how I felt. So that's just me. 4.5 out of 10 for me for the Tortured Poets department for Taylor Swift.